Welcome to the Ukrainian Racing League's F4 division. Great to be here. We are at the dusty, difficult, highly technical Laguna Seca Raceway here for the round one in the championship. My name is Weboo. I'm very pleased to be here with you today. And we have for you 14 drivers who are going to take part in qualifying. And we have Gergo Danko first out on track, and he is rocking something akin to the Japanese special Red Bull livery. So we're going to get into everybody's look, everybody's liveries and equipment. Of course, everybody racing the same spec F4 car here in iRacing. And we can't wait to get underway. We've got lots of rookies. We've got lots of experienced drivers as well. It's going to be fascinating to see drivers who have just picked up iRacing tackling what is one of the most difficult raceways out there in world motorsport. It's incredibly low grip on when you go offline as well. We see Kyra Krassenburg just emerging from the pits, and she is getting herself ready to get ready for this 10-minute qualifying, 1 minute of which has already elapsed, and it is going by incredibly fast. I must say, on a personal note, great to be brought back into the Ukrainian racing fraternity here. I'm really thrilled to be back with you all. And I hope that you can enjoy the racing today. If you're live with us, then do take part in the live chat. I'll do my best to keep up with what's going on. If you do send text, make sure it's in English if you want me to react to it, because unfortunately my linguistic skills do not stretch to the Ukrainian language. You can see how much difficulty and dust there is just off the exit of the final corner out there, turn 11, as we go underneath the footbridge for the start-finish line. This is Eldar Noohi, who was fastest in practice. That does not always translate into the fastest in qualifying, and of course over the course of 2 races we have for you here in this first round, and we'll get into that a little bit later. Clicking over now to Kamto Chukwureh, who I believe is representing, I think that's Ireland, but it could be India. So the flag's very similar here, but I'm assuming that that is indeed Ireland for Mafi Esports, and he is currently cycling through. You can see Noah Osbaldeston from Nova Motorsport Esports, the Brit here. I recognise his name as a seasoned iRacer, and he'll be trying to make sure that he stamps his authority on this championship at this early stage of proceedings. So tackling the corkscrew now is David Dasilva for GMS Dogbox Nova Motorsport here, as he comes through what is a very difficult rainy curve as you're pitching downhill. You spend a lot of the lap climbing hill, and then a very short distance dropping downhill here in the California desert way, as we head out of the final corner then with Brandon Devine as he comes through, and he's now tackling that famous corkscrew bend, and the car will get highly unloaded. You've got to be so careful coming through that corkscrew to try and hold on to the car. The early times are on the board. 121.825 is the purple, is the fastest time by Eldar Noohi from Chukwureh, Dasilva and Wimbley. Kyra Krassenburg debuting on iRacing competitively, I do believe, here on a broadcast race, and she's in 6th place with Dmytro Zalozhnikov out in 7th, beaten by Brandon Devine there, who goes up into P6 with a 22.919. Still, Eldar Noohi holding on. We've got Richard Lucas, who gets himself into 10th position at this stage, and we are nearly 4 minutes through a 10-minute session. Andy Philpott now representing the UK in the black and pink, and you can see the rear of the car getting lively underneath him as he tries to make sure he can maximize this run. We'll see what this lap works out to be like. There is Maksym Dzhantimirov. My apologies if I butcher anybody's name. I'm doing my level best here in the 333, and he's just coming through that final section of the lap underneath the footbridge. And I've just seen Kamto Chukwureh stealing the pole position, another 21.8 by 1 thousandths of a second. Eldar Noohi takes it straight back away again there by a 10.5 as we see Dmytro Zalozhnikov in the 6.96 for Team RLR. He's about to cross the line and set his first flying lap time And where does he manage to get himself to? P9 for the 696 there, as the drivers are pitting for, I'm assuming, to be new tyres. Richard Lucas just heading off the circuit just to get himself ready for the next one. Here is Illia Rakitin, the 375 for Foundation Team RLR. And he is currently unable to set a time, but he's about to get there, I think, nearing the point where he can register a fast and flying lap. As we run through then the left hand, he's climbing the hill right now through the turns 5 and 6, and then he'll head almost vertically upwards before hitting the brakes, slamming on the brakes, and suddenly the track falling away from him down through the corkscrew underneath another bridge. And then we get a great view here of his working the wheel on board the Formula 4 as he heads right-hand corner through turn 10. One more to go then for Illia Rakitin as he stays away from that inside curb, just tries to treat that pretty carefully. Andy Philpott's just set a personal best time, so has Gergo Danko in P6, and that was Illia Rakitin, who manages, I don't think that registered a time yet on our board, or at least not in the top 10, unless I'm being completely blind. Here we go on board with Gergo Danko, who just set that P6 time. Currently, though, it's Eldar Noohi ahead of Noah Osbaldeston, who just takes P2 at 21.681. Formerly, that would have been good enough for the pole position, but of course, Eldar Noohi has a 21.538 at this stage. This is Gergo Danko then in the all-white Red Bull style livery as he's climbing the hill. Might be getting a small tow from the car in front. In fact, he's actually closing in at such a rate, he'll be worried now that this car in front is going to hold him up. But of course, managing the gap in qualifying is a skill our drivers require. There you can see the camber change on this circuit as the car tilts to the right, then to the left, and pitches downhill, and we head into turn 10 on board, and a little bit of corrective steering mid-corner. You're constantly guessing what the car wants to do on these F4 cars. A little bit of downforce, of course, with the wings on these F4. They're not Formula Ford's Van Diemen's, so there is a little bit there for the drivers to head for, and that is Gergo Danko settling in 6th, no faster. Andy Philpott set a personal best there at 23.1. He goes 10th at this stage. Your standings right now: Eldar Noohi ahead of Noah Osbaldeston from Chukwureh, Dasilva, Wimbley, Danko, Devine, Krassenburg, Dzhantimirov, Philpott, your top 10. This is Scott Edwards. You're not going to miss this car. A lime green and red livery here, Scott Edwards for the UK, as he heads through this fast lap into the famous corkscrew bend. Now there is even a corkscrew Hollywood Hills style sign on the hillside of this one, as we this characteristic desert style circuit here in California in the United States of America. As we look for, there's the pit lane on the left of the drivers racing line through the final corner, turn 11, passing the garages and the start finish line momentarily. Scott Edwards then, can we get ourselves away from the bottom of the grid right now? He's it's 8:23 have elapsed from the time. Eldar Noohi comes out of the final corner. Can the number 10 get a even faster time on the board? Well, he's about to find out soon enough, as other drivers are coming out of that incredibly long pit exit here at Laguna Seca. We will have for you very soon a 20-minute sprint race followed by a double-length feature race with a short 5-minute warm-up break in between. So fascinating to see how the drivers start this championship. Illia Rakitin has gone 5th in the 375. Kamto Chukwureh has gone into third, stayed third, I do believe, on a 21.6. Noah Osbaldeston holding on by just what is that, 14,000th of a second between Osbaldeston and Chukwureh. Fascinating situation we find ourselves in for the race. And this is Noah trying to make sure he is the last one to cross the start-finish line to start his final flying lap. 9:22 on the clock. There is a car behind him who is going to be in the absolute best position for our conditions. But Noah Osbaldeston, I think, significantly far ahead on the circuit at the moment. We will see if he can actually manage to gain that 1.5 tenths of a second only. The entire field currently separated by just 3.6 seconds. 1 second separating the top 6, just over for the 7th position, Gergo Danko, and I think he might even dip below that on the final lap. This, though, Noah Osbaldeston, as he comes through the left-hander for Nova Motorsport, and disappears off our screen because he wasn't happy with that lap. The checkered flag flies. The session is complete. Eldar Noohi is the pole position scorer as we run through, and he manages to hold on to that pole position throughout the majority of our session, ahead of Noah Osbaldeston, Kamto Chukwureh in 3rd place, and David Dasilva in 4th. We have Illia Rakitin in 5th place, Charles Wimbley in 6th, Danko in 7th with Devine, Krassenburg, Dzhantimirov, Philpott, Edwards, Zalozhnikov, Lucas, Sorovsky, and Bunich. Starting at the very back of the grid. 16 cars will actually take part in our sprint race as the cars are gridding up and getting ready then. Eldar Noohi, though, feeling pretty good about his pace, but can he translate that into the pressures of a sprint race start? We get ready as the drivers are just gridding right now. You can see the bright different colours that we've got for you. Should make life a little bit easier for your commentator. Number 14 there, Kamto Chukwureh, gets himself onto the grid. Typically, it's the fastest drivers who are the last to the grid because they've got the most experience checking on their settings. But shout out to Kyra Krassenburg, to Richard Lucas here, who have joined from GT7. And have taken the leap here to start taking part. I believe they'll probably be in VR as well. But Eldar Noohi then, the fastest driver. He's our German at the head of the grid, and he will start there on the inside for the first corner, the Andretti hairpin, which is technically turn 2, which in itself is also technically 2 turns to the left, but we'll ignore that and just call it turn 2. The sort of left kink after the start-finish line is the official turn 1, but we will get ourselves underway for the race any moment for you. I'd love to hear your predictions if you're watching with us live. As we get ready with the lights, we'll get ready for a 20-minute sprint race. It's 5 red lights on here, and the F4 season is go, go, go. And straight away, Noah Osbaldeston streaking away from his grid box, and he gets into that first position, and he gets so far ahead that he's able to cut off the inside line from Eldar Noohi, who goes side by side with Kamto Chukwureh. Looks like Brandon Devine is heading backwards through the grid at the moment, but so far we've been clear of any disaster. Noah Osbaldeston leading the race then by nearly 0.4 of a second after the first few corners, certainly the first sector coming to an end shortly, ahead of Eldar Noohi with Chukwureh, Dasilva and Rakitin in 5th place. Charles Wimbley, Danko and Krassenburg, you round out your top 8 as things stand, as we look to down through the grid and see if everybody has emerged from those first few fighting corners nice and tidily. It looks like a very well-behaved start here for the start of our championship, and side by side go Brandon Devine and his key rival here as we head into the heavy braking zone of the corkscrew. You almost want a fixed camera position on that corkscrew to see everybody come through, because everyone will take a different line and will be fully crossed up trying to cope with cold tyres on this early portion of the race. Noah Osbaldeston, though, holding on to a 3.5, nearly 0.4 of a second gap ahead of Eldar Noohi. Lots of cars running wide, kicking up dust in their rivals' faces, which is never comfortable for anybody. But it looks like we are not going to have a storming away dominant leader at this stage of the race. There is Eldar Noohi with the green and yellow front wing and blue body, and he is able to move around in the mirrors, close in the gap to Noah Osbaldeston, who's had a fantastic launch, great getaway, but now the reality of the poleman being directly behind you in your mirrors is starting to dawn on Noah Osbaldeston. How well can he hold on here? This is a track where overtaking is not the easiest thing in the world. So it's all about precision and holding on to your position and making sure that you don't leave an opening, don't miss a gear, don't just hit a curb just slightly wrong, because the margin for error is so tiny. Here we go then into the corkscrew, a little look possibly down the inside, but that might just be braking to avoid any inadvertent contact or slipstream issue for the drivers at the front of the race. Half a second separating Noah Osbaldeston and Eldar Noohi, and we drop down to see Andy Philpott with drivers around him. This is Maksym Dzhantimirov in the darker coloured CRC sponsored car here for the nation of Ukraine. Going for the move into the final corner, and that's a great overtake from Maksym in the triple three there, and he manages to get himself ahead of Richard Lucas in the McDonald's style red and yellow, and we've got contact into that that first hard braking zone of turn 2, but the drivers saving it for a moment there. Eldar Noohi has come unstuck, and he's dropped down into 3rd position. So clearly things not going particularly well for our fastest guy in practice and in qualifying, as the drivers behind him are caught out slightly now, and they'll be fighting hard. David Dasilva here in the number 25 GMS Dogbox Nova Motorsport car, as he might be going for a 2-for-1 deal down into turn 2 here, and he gets into it, and then a little slide. That was what happened to our leader Eldar Noohi, our former fastest driver here, Eldar Noohi, and he got a little tag there. And he's dropped back behind Kamto Chukwureh. Noah Osbaldeston, though, a 2.1 second lead at this early stage then of the F4 Championship. Of course, only a 20-minute race, so we'll try not to blow all of our enjoyment at this early stage, because we definitely want to hold on for what will be the bigger points paying positions later in the feature race, but for now at least things looking very, very intriguing. This is Kamto Chukwureh in the Mafi Esports. He's been passed again then by Eldar Noohi, so he managed to catch up. And then look at this battle pack in the background. This is fantastic. Dasilva, Rakitin, Wimbley and Danko all together. You could throw a blanket over all 4 of them at this stage, and this is great to see. Good racing from everybody, and different lines showing great momentum for the different drivers. Meanwhile, though, Noah Osbaldeston with a great view of clear air behind him in his mirrors. He'll be trying to just save the car at this stage and creep his way away from the likes of Eldar Noohi and Kamto Chukwureh, who are only half a second separated from each other. Here is the white Red Bull. If that doesn't not make sense, it's Gergo Danko as he closes in then on Charles Wimbley, heading into that famous corkscrew corner. Down we go. Let's wait to see as we kick up more dust and dirt, and it's not a quicker way through the corner. The the steering wheels here kind of looking like an N64 controller on the F4 car here in iRacing, as they try to run through into that final corner now. This is the turn 11, and we're joined on board with Charles Wimbley. We'll see if he's wondering about his mirrors. There's a technical issue happening on the car in front. As from Charles Wimbley's point of view, that's Illia Rakitin just flashing in and out. That will just unnerve Charles Wimbley a little bit in P6, the number 3. A reminder, though, the top group here at the moment, Osbaldeston from Noohi, 2 seconds with Chukwureh in that P3, with David Dasilva in 4th, Illia Rakitin. This, though, down in 12th position, and the driver's still fighting hard over 11th. That is Maksym Bunich ahead of Maksym Dzhantimirov, who takes the position away. The 2 Maksyms maximising their run through the few corners there, and Dzhantimirov up to P11 with his namesake just dropping behind him in 1 position. The top Ukrainian at the moment is Illia Rakitin in P5, and we will see if the Ukrainian teams can start working together a little bit. The compatriots, we'll see, but no shortage of battling and skill there from the 2 Maksyms in 11th and 12th position. Up ahead, though, another compatriot, Dmytro Zalozhnikov in the 696. And that will be what Dzhantimirov is thinking about. That looks like Brandon Devine is possibly in the pits or has crashed out. We will see if we can get you what happened to Brandon Devine, because he's dropping down the order now, and that is very, very fast descent down into 14th as things stand. 15th now for Brandon Devine. So fans of the Devine fans will be concerned about what's happened to their hero. Kyra Krassenburg starting in the midfield, down to 16th here, and I wonder if she also had a unfortunate incident earlier on, and any damage that might have needed to be repaired. There is Charles Wimbley in P6 in the purple and yellow striped United States livery. It's showing him as being red on the lower third of the screen, but he's actually racing in a purple special livery today, it would appear, and that's the white Red Bull behind him of Gergo Danko, who was quick in practice, quick in qualifying, and I'm surprised to see him struggle to make a move past Wimbley right now. But at the lead of the race, it's still Noah Osbaldeston, although his lead has been cut by 0.4 of a second to Eldar Noohi. It's now 1.5 seconds, with Kamto Chukwureh a further 0.75 of a second behind Noohi. David Dasilva is 4th. Illia Rakitin is 5th, with Charles Wimbley in 6th, and here Gergo Danko in that 7th position, the Hungarian racer. The only Hungarian racer we have with us here today in this Ukrainian Racing League Formula 4 Championship. We've got a calendar full of events, and there is a big problem then. I think, was that Wimbley who's gone off? That was Illia Rakitin. Oh, that is a huge shame for Foundation Team RLR. The 375 has just lost the rear of the car on braking and entry point. So easily done here in that turn 2 double left-hand corner. And then we've got a potential overtake coming as well while he tries to scrub those dirty tyres clean. That's the number 57 passing him of Brandon Devine, and he goes through into that 7th place. Illia Rakitin with a lot to do now, turning 5th into 8th. Can he get back up the order? And he's still holding on to the fastest Ukrainian badge, but unfortunately that's dropping him down to 8th place. Just a little loss of balance. I don't think that'll be the only time we see that from our drivers today. It is going to be a tremendously difficult track to try and hold on this back with the, I was going to say with the leader. I think that this is in fact Maksym Dzhantimirov, and he is running that 333, and he's in 11th position and holding on at the moment. He's trying to catch Zalozhnikov. At the moment, Noah Osbaldeston is your official leader. I know it says on the top of the screen that it's Noohi, but on the tower it is still reading as Noah Osbaldeston leading this race by 1.8 seconds, and he's doing a fantastic job holding on, despite the fact that Noohi was faster in the 2 practice and qualifying sessions we had earlier on. Gergo Danko P6 chasing down at Charles Wimbley in that 5th position, and he just puts 2 tyres out on the dirt at this stage, and we have a look potentially for a move going on into one of the 2 left-handers. We're climbing the hill. Then the aero effect will be tremendous up the hill here as you borrow the speed from the car in front. But then, of course, you get a little bit less grip on the way through the corners, so it shrinks and then it expands the gaps as we run through. That is the Hungarian racer Gergo Danko taking a very unconventional line, probably just showing exactly what I was talking about, which is the loss of grip following the car in front. The very simple aerodynamics on these F4 cars. It's not quite as bad as a leading Formula 1 car, but it is still fairly significant. Noah Osbaldeston, P1, leading the race in the black and red Nova Motorsport Esports car, and he's leading by 1.6 seconds. We are just over half distance of this sprint race. It's actually quite a long sprint race when you think about it. It's usually a sprint race less than half the distance of a feature race, so it's in between really a sprint and a medium-sized race here for our drivers. I'm sure they'll be feeling the fatigue by the end of the racing hour, but Noah Osbaldeston had a scorching lead, a scorching getaway from the grid, and he's managed to take himself forward. He's not taking it easy though. The back just stepping out slightly through the left-hander there of turn, I want to say turn 5, I think it was, as we climb the hill towards this corkscrew corner, heading back down to P11 in the battle here for P10, and just stepping out of the slipstream. Looks like a classic great overtake there from Maksym Dzhantimirov, and he gets himself ahead of, I think that is Dmytro Zalozhnikov, who gets just deposed down to 11th place. They could do with helping each other move forward here, because the gap to the car in front is now some 4.7 seconds. Total field spread is just under 50 seconds. First, Noah Osbaldeston to 16th, Kyra Krassenburg. and we wait, of course, for the feature race. Second chance for our racers here to try and feature as the top three go across the line on their lap 10 of this first heat, this sprint race here at the first race of the F4 Championship. Illia Rakitin, P8, hasn't been able to climb forward since his slip up in this very corner earlier on, and actually looking like he's flirting with disaster as he turns in once again here, tucked up behind. That must be Brandon Devine as he comes through that first difficult corner, that double left, and behind them you've got Scott Edwards in the unmistakable lime green and orangey red car, as he is starting to dream of getting himself up into P8 or even P7 at this stage. Scott Edwards, the UK driver here, as we run through and climb that famous hill as we head then towards what is the one of the most famous corners in world motorsport, the Corkscrew. We head to the right now as we head into that Corkscrew corner. This is Illia Rakitin, and he's got a great line going through the Corkscrew. It's not a classic overtaking position. It's possible if you can cooperate with your rivals, but it does help you to catch the drivers you're racing with. Moves one side, then the other. I thought he was going to switch back to the inside line there, but Rakitin would prefer a better exit of the corner. He's really stretching race control's patience as he runs super wide out onto the green asphalt on the exit of the final corner, turn 11, focusing here on his gains on the way into this double left. But the better racing line is with the 57, Brandon Devine. Once again, though, I think Rakitin will be trying to get the better momentum on the way out. Jackie Stewart used to say, "It's slow in, fast out is the best way to race with motorsport," and it still holds true in many leagues and cars that we still run to this day. And I think that is Illia Rakitin's approach right now, just trying to do something slightly different to the car in front, keep him checking his mirrors, see if he can put the pressure on. Meanwhile, though, they're both slowing in comparison to Scott Edwards. And then I think that we even saw a glimpse of the two Ukrainian drivers, Maksym Dzhantimirov and Dmytro Zalozhnikov, not far away in the background. The gap at the moment, though, it seems it's 3/10 between these two, but it's nearly 5 seconds out to P6 Gergo Danko. At the head of the field, Osbaldeston leads Eldar Noohi by only 3.5 tenths of a second now, as they are nose to tail. Here they are, your leaders, just in time then potentially to see the number 10 pole sitter Eldar Noohi try and reclaim the maximum points from today's race. We are 3/4 away through our sprint race as things stand, and out onto the dirt and gravel he goes in search of the better grip, the better exit, and certainly trying to find a weakness in the game of Noah Osbaldeston, but right in front of him there. It's Great Britain versus Germany versus Ireland versus the United States at the top of our Ukrainian Racing League race. And this is a championship where they will be fighting over a cash prize pot for first, second and third. So there's a lot to play for here. Not just iRacing, not just bragging rights, but genuine cash prizes as well. So it's fantastic, and that is courtesy of our sponsors here today as well, which I'm sure you can get details of in the description of today's video. Well, it's Noah Osbaldeston ahead of Noohi, 3/10 of a second only between them, and he searches around for an opening. Noah Osbaldeston holds firm for now, and I wonder whether Kamto Chukwureh back there in P3 is starting to think about launching a bid here, or at least picking up the pieces if the drivers in front of him get into it. 1/10 of a second is the pace differential between the leader and the faster car behind him, Eldar Noohi, but there's not a lot Eldar can do about it, and if Noah makes 0 mistakes. Very difficult to make a move here at Laguna Seca if the driver in front is driving, even if he's slightly slower, if he's driving a perfect racing line. Very, very difficult indeed. And for the time being, at least, Noah Osbaldeston holding firm, holding his nerve as the pressure starts to mount and we enter those final 3 racing minutes of this sprint race. I'd love to hear your predictions. It's a beautiful day for racing out there. 20 degrees ambient. That's pretty cool for a California afternoon, but it's 34 degrees centigrade on the racing surface, and that was so close. A little snatch of the brake, even the rear brakes locking slightly of Eldar Noohi. He almost got his car tucked up underneath the Noah Osbaldeston rear diffuser and rear wheels there as we run through the rainy curve, the turn 10, and head into the final corner. A delayed move over to the racing line there from Eldar Noohi. Didn't cost him any time, but it's just making sure that the car in front has noticed him. And Eldar Noohi will learn from that and think, well, do you know what? I might be slightly better on the brakes into that famous corkscrew. Would be a big move if he was able to make the move through there. Again, Noah Osbaldeston just turning into the corner slightly smoother, slightly early as well to stop a dive bomb coming. But you've got to think that Eldar Noohi will start getting more and more desperate as the laps tick by. 18 minutes and 20 seconds have elapsed of the 2 minutes, and we run through our current laps, I think around the 1 minute 22-23 mark. As we run through the order, then it's Osbaldeston Noohi with Chukwureh and Dasilva, but a 5-second gap between P3 and P4 there. A similar gap to Wimbley, and then Danko, Rakitin, Devine, Edwards and Dzhantimirov are the top 10. Followed closely behind Zalozhnikov, Bunich, Philpott, Sorovsky, Krassenburg and Lucas brings up the rear of our 16-car grid, and still Eldar Noohi searches for that opportunity to make the overtake as we come into the right-hander now, and the car's getting unloaded as we close in on the final corner of the penultimate lap, and that was the drivers getting together. Unfortunately there, that is Noah Osbaldeston getting tagged in the rear by Eldar Noohi, who carries on regardless, decides, do you know what, that was the white flag for the final lap. Kamto Chukwureh has gained a position from Noah Osbaldeston, and possibly there was a hint of frustration in the action there of our pole sitter and second place running driver. Noah Osbaldeston will be absolutely sick in the stomach right now because he's lost the lead of the race. He's even lost second, and we'll wait to see if our stewards will have anything to do with that. This again, the replay, and you can see that there was no business making a move down into that portion of the corner. Noah Osbaldeston was fully still ahead, and it looked to me as if Eldar Noohi hit the curb on the inside, and that sent him flying into the rear wheel of Noah Osbaldeston. That's just my view at this stage. If you've got a different view, let us know. But Eldar Noohi is going to carry on. He's going to try and clear any penalty that might be coming his way here. First target, of course, will be a 5-second deficit to Noah Osbaldeston. This could still go the way of Kamto Chukwureh in the stewards room later, but Eldar Noohi looks like he's rounding towards the very end of our sprint race. A controversial start to our season, possibly. Eldar Noohi took pole position. He'll take the checkered flag and win at Laguna Seca on the road. I've got a feeling Kamto Chukwureh may do even better than second by the time things are dealt with, and Noah Osbaldeston in third position will be a very unhappy racer. We need to find some way of cooling off in the 5-minute break that we've got. David Dasilva in P4 with Charles Wimbley in 5th. A personal best from Gergo Danko there on the final lap of racing with Illia Rakitin in 7th. Brandon Devine in 8th. Got Edwards crossing the line in 9th place. We've got Maksym Dzhantimirov in 10th with Dmytro Zalozhnikov in 11th. Bunich in 12th with Philpott, Sorovsky, Krassenburg and Lucas rounding out your 16-car grid at the line here. But a controversial one to start our season's racing. The sprint race won on the road by Eldar Noohi ahead of Kamto Chukwureh and Noah Osbaldeston. As I say, we'll have a 5-minute cool-off period, and I think Noah will do a great job to be back in a really strong frame of mind by the time we get to the end of this race, as the final car is coming up to cross the line, and we will give you some even more action still to come for the following race. I need some guidance actually as to how we decide the grid for the final race, whether it's qualifying or the finishing order, or if it's even fastest laps in the sprint race. There's lots of options available to us, so I'll wait for a note in my ear while I take a quick drink. reverse grid for the top 10, I'm being told. So a fascinating start then, as it will be. Noah Osbaldeston will start in, I think that will make him P8 for the next race. The warm-up will begin. I think most drivers will just not need a warm-up. They'll need a cool off after that tricky first race here at Laguna Seca. So 2 rounds of racing for us here at the Ukrainian Racing League, and we continue then to try and make sure that we get you some fantastic racing. That was certainly plenty of action throughout the grid as well. And giving a chance now to the drivers finishing at the bottom end of the top 10. Can they hold on to what is going to be a very, very difficult position to start the race, but a gifted pole position? This was the replay. And there you can see that the blue car gets himself up on the curb there and then into Noah Osbaldeston, who, frankly, it looked like was an innocent party. I'm not seeing or hearing any arguments in the live chat, but I'll just restart that, make sure that I'm not missing from you guys. But we'll just see Noah coming through. I didn't see any real mistakes here from him. Maybe look, there's a couple of wheels out on the dirt that might have slowed him slightly. We're going to do an ultra slow replay here. At the moment, then Noohi was a long way back heading into the final corner. He's got every right to go for a move here, but he can't make contact. And look, at this point of the corner, Noah has already turned in, and that is the contact with the curb that has upset the angle of Noohi. An unfamiliar positioning into that final corner, so a potential bit of controversy there as we start. But I'm sure Noah will have just fully expected that pretty much for the whole of the time he had the car directly behind him. It looks like Charles Wimbley then being shown there in P3 as we just have a look at some other action that's been happening. This is Gergo Danko. I think he's just, this was a replay from Danko. Do we have an off-track moment here? We're certainly having 2 or 3 stabs at making the ideal line through the corner. A beautiful raceway here, and a unique place to go racing. Must be an absolute thrill there. We just see another brief moment. This is the problems with hitting the curb there for Gergo Danko. He survived that one. I think if you make sure that you get your wheels either side of the curb, you're okay, generally speaking. But Gergo was very late on the brakes, then into the corkscrew, and on the ragged edge was Danko through that run. And we'll see some more. This is Rakitin, some oversteer into the corner entry, possibly just a tiny bit too much speed on the way in, or slip angle on the wheel. And then he went side by side with his rival on the outside here, leaving enough space as well. But he was conscious that he was trying to clean those tyres off, and he would have been in a difficult position there. Narrow entry into the next corner. And Rakitin went down to 8th, and I think ended up finishing 8th as well, despite running as high as P5 as he tried to recover here. And then you get a great run actually coming through turn 5, and then he continues to fight, but backs out of the move sensibly there. That's what we would have hoped, I think, that Noohi had done into that final corner, and we could have gone for a last lap showdown. But all the same, I'm sure Illia Rakitin will be proud to represent Ukraine here in his home league against this international field we have. The warm-up is almost complete, would you believe, and we'll be gridding and ready for the next one. No problem. So we'll be back with live commentary in just a moment's time, so stay tuned. the restart of the feature race. It'll be a 40-minute race then, as opposed to the 20-minute race we had in the sprint as the drivers get ready. Dzhantimirov finishing P10 will start the race on the pole position with Scott Edwards alongside him, who hasn't joined yet. He hasn't gridded up just yet, but you will see that unmistakable brightly coloured car join at the number 9 on. There he goes into P2. Watch out then for Osbaldeston, Chukwureh and for Noohi. And we get ready then for our feature race as the drivers get themselves situated, get ready for racing. We've got 5 red lights. And it's dropped the clutch, and it's go, go, go. And a good start from Dzhantimirov, but I think Scott Edwards will have a fairly good start as well on the outside line. He'll try to cut back soon, but it looks like Brandon Devine has the inside line going into the corner. They'll have to leave a little bit of space on the way through, as it looks like Rakitin and Osbaldeston have made a great start as well. Osbaldeston has got a fantastic start procedure in his race car as well. Kyra Krassenburg looking good up to P12 from near the back of the grid, as sweeping around the outside goes Charles Wimbley in the purple USA car, and in front of him it's Scott Edwards, and then a move coming behind in that run, that is Dasilva and Rakitin. I think Dasilva will have the better exit because Rakitin was out onto the gravel. And there he goes, losing a position. He's left the door open on the inside as well. And through, I think, comes Chukwureh. We'll see if that is how things work out. But certainly Noah Osbaldeston up from P8 to P5. 3 wide into the corkscrew is just craziness. You can't go doing that, guys. Cool it down a little bit. We've got a long way to run in our 40-minute race, and we continue with a near 4-way battle going through into the final couple corners here of the first racing lap. Into the pit lane comes several cars, including Noohi, your race 1 winner. Noohi into the pits. I think there may be some damage on those cars. It's Devine from Osbaldeston in second place. Insane start from Osbaldeston, starting P8 and up to second already. I mean, he gained a row away from the start, but Scott Edwards then there in P3, I think, just slotting in. He's side by side with Dzhantimirov, who will have the better line through the next corner. And a big mixture of colours there for Dzhantimirov, but he's in the 333, and he is third at this stage. Scott Edwards is completely off the racing line. He's got Dasilva side by side with him, but it's Dasilva who's gone through, and behind them Charles Wimbley in the purple, who tries to gain his better racing line through the next few corners, and slowly but surely the drivers start to calm down and run in single file, because they've got a lot of racing to get through. Brandon Devine leads by 1 clear second from Noah Osbaldeston, who for much of the sprint race was ahead. Again, another slightly late move there from the 375. Thankfully, he managed to rescue that one. Didn't pitch his rival round, but then it happens. And that's Philpott, who was on the outside line going into what is a highly limited corner. Philpott down, I think, to 9th place. We'll see if he settles back into 9th place. But I think that was a little bit of contact there on the way out of the corkscrew section of the track. There is Rakitin then in the 375. He is in P7 at the moment. The fastest lap goes to Noah Osbaldeston at the front of the grid. Is only half a second away now from Brandon Devine, as we watch Dasilva here in the number 25 race car in P4. The bright colours, the turquoise, the grey, and well, probably silver it's supposed to be, and then you've got the red flashes on the back. It has the ring of a BMW art car to it, the GMS Dogbox Nova Motorsport entry number 25 here. And this is Noah Osbaldeston, the number 24, who is challenging for the lead of our race, the number 57 here. Of course, he will have been able to try and step away from the rig for a few moments during the warm-up period between the two. He goes side by side. This is the entry into the corkscrew. Steers across slightly to get a straighter line on the way through, and that's a great overtake from the 24 for Noah Osbaldeston, and he moves through into P1 here in this feature race. There's still fighting going on behind. That's Dasilva fighting in 4th place with Maksym Maksym Dzhantimirov, I have to read that carefully every time I look at it. I'll get used to it through the course of our season as we run out wide, kicking out the dirt once again at the front of the grid, though, by 0.3 of a second. Your leader, Noah Osbaldeston, with a personal best on the run through as well, but not the best so far. Several drivers had to go into the pits, including our podium sitters from the sprint race, Chukwureh and Eldar Noohi, who have had to repair damage, but will have plenty of time to come back through. And that's a spin. That's a spin. I think that might be Rakitin, is it? Who's dropped down the order. I think it is down to 13th place, Illia Rakitin. Love to see how that went down. But the Moza Motorsport and Trading Paints entry number 113 of Roma Sorokivsky as he runs through here in that P10 now, but it's Rakitin who's dropped back. This is Kyra Krassenburg, brand new to racing, and she is in that art car livery as well, representing the Netherlands as well, and she's doing much better in this race so far. That is not a legal line through the corner for Dasilva's rival Dzhantimirov there, down into P5 now for the 333. Scott Edwards making his way by as well. And yeah, just to complete that thought, Kyra Krassenburg up from the back of the grid, the penultimate position, up now to 8th place, and only 0.7 of a second away from her rival in front. Charles Wimbley at the back of this battle pack then as we cross the line to start lap 5. It's Noah Osbaldeston leading by 1.3 seconds from David Dasilva and Scott Edwards. Maksym Dzhantimirov. This is the battle at the back of the top 10 at the moment. I don't know, car number 10, Eldar Noohi, at the back of the entire grid here. Last the first challenge is on for Eldar Noohi, and some people might claim that's a karma situation for him, but he's also got a fast car with him. They'll have to start working together, and it wouldn't surprise me if they make some sort of a pact between them to slipstream their way back past the rearmost drivers. You can just see the yellow and red of Richard Lucas in P14, the 723 entry, just in front of the former podium runners. But this is back with Maksym Dzhantimirov, the 333 here in the black, red and white CRC Ukrainian entry. Wow, held on to that one with absolute style, Dzhantimirov, but unfortunately allowing Scott Edwards to get away a little bit. But more importantly to him at the moment, he allows Wimbley to close right in. This is Noohi against his former rival in the sprint race, Chukwureh, who might still stand to gain that win after all. We will wait and see post-race once the stewards have analysed the telemetry. But it's Osbaldeston just crossing the line to start his 6th racing lap here, and just 7 minutes have a lap so far. Of course, the short racing lap, the drivers will come through. Richard Lucas just moves aside. He knows these drivers behind are much faster, and he says, you know what, I'm not going to get involved in this. I need to focus on my own racecraft, and I will just cost myself time by battling. So he has stepped aside from this battle. That wasn't a lap situation. He's just getting used to the car and even the sim platform itself, and hats off to our drivers just translating that. And there was a little spinala from Richard Lucas just in the background there. I hate to bring that up, but it happened just in the rear of screen, and he just did a neat little 360 just for show there for his sponsors. Unfortunately, we didn't get it front and center, so we couldn't give any screen time to his sponsors. It's Osbaldeston leading by 2.7 seconds, and most importantly for him, I think, will be the 22 seconds that separate himself and his podium battle group. That is Eldar Noohi going fully off the racing circuit through the corkscrew. I wonder if he'll be instructed to give that place back, or he will feel the need to give it back himself. By the look of things, with what happened at the end of the previous race, he's one of those drivers who says, you know what, I'll wait till the stewards actually deal with the situation. I'm not going to cede position mid-race. I will let them handle it. But clearly, completely off the circuit through the corkscrew. I doubt it gained him a lot of time, but he did defend a position going through there. It's Scott Edwards then in P9, car 9, Scott Edwards in P4. And my apologies, just getting used to reading the screen displays here. The leader is not Dzhantimirov. as it says in the middle of the screen. It's Noah Osbaldeston. Dzhantimirov did start the race at in that pole position. Look at the run that the 333 behind him of Dzhantimirov has got on Scott Edwards as the different racing lines and the different road surface angles here take effect as they climb the hill and then into the braking zone, into the corkscrew. I'm actually racing here in a little while myself, and I'm really scared of that corkscrew and getting the car through, because it'd be my first competitive race at Laguna Seca, and I don't think you ever stop being scared of the corkscrew. Every journey into there is a lottery. The Nova Motorsport car of that was Philpott, excuse me, as they run through. This is Gergo Danko in the number 4. He's in 9th place. Kyra Krassenburg up to 7th. I think Philpott might have had a problem on the previous lap, and a move coming then from Dzhantimirov, but a defense happening from Wimbley in front of him there in P5, and holding on. Number 3, number 3 is Charles Wimbley in the purple and black with yellow trim and yellow halo there entry, and he's holding on against Dzhantimirov. Philpott and Krassenburg swapping positions, and Philpott hanging the tail out and making an overtake past Krassenburg, and that was a very stylish way of making an overtake, I have to say. You don't often see a drift overtake, but Philpott certainly showing off there with his great overtake. Love to see that one again, as long as I'm reading it correctly anyway. This is David Dasilva, the number 25 entry. He's in 3rd position. Brandon Devine and Dasilva, the 2 United States drivers, fighting hard then. Dasilva representing GMS Dogbox and Nova Motors as he runs through and follows Brandon Devine, and we'll see if he can make the best of this particular battle. It's going to be really interesting. We're 11 minutes through, so just over 1/4 distance of our feature race. The order as things stand is Osbaldeston with a gap of 4.3 seconds from a hard-fought battle for 2nd position on your screen right now. Brandon Devine ahead of David Dasilva. Scott Edwards, it looks like Wimbley and Dzhantimirov have just swapped over in some way. They're still swapping positions, those two, right now as they've dropped through. So Scott Edwards currently in 4th, with Dzhantimirov there in 5th place. This looks like it's Maksym Bunich, as the fastest cars from the sprint race are coming through to pass him. They are racing hard for position. That's the number 10, the blue entry. This is Chukwureh, who's taking the outside to inside switchback maneuver and losing ground here at the moment, Chukwureh, to Eldar Noohi, who himself is making an overtake past the slower runner at this stage. Down the inside of Sorokivsky. I'm going to struggle with this one. Sorokivsky, I think that might be close. Roma Sorokivsky just being passed there by Eldar Noohi, who's got a real mountain to climb, forgive the pun here, at this very hilly circuit of the Laguna Seca WeatherTech Raceway in California. It's Charles Wimbley then crowding around in front of that is Dasilva, I think. No, Charles Wimbley taking Dzhantimirov, who's got the Ukrainian flag on the end plates of his front wing. We get onto the helicopter or drone footage, and we see this battle, but Wimbley is significantly ahead going into turn 2 here. Manages to just get it stopped on the apex as well. Didn't go too deep off the racing line, which is easily done as we run through there in the next few corners. David Dasilva chasing down that P2. Meanwhile, Noah Osbaldeston is stretching his lead out to 5 seconds, and from Eldar Noohi, it's still some 23 seconds in the end. In fact, that gap has got bigger through the course of the first 13 minutes, certainly after the unscheduled pit stop from Eldar Noohi. I'm sure the drivers will be intending to run this race without stopping. As far as my information is concerned, I don't believe they need to stop, but obviously damage will cause that. There is Eldar Noohi, car in front just going wide. That's Zalozhnikov. He's got a similar livery to Rakitin, Zalozhnikov, but he's just given up position then, P10 to Eldar Noohi. Little bit of a cloud hanging over Eldar Noohi. I'm sure that was inadvertent contact at the end of the sprint race. but I'm sure he and Noah will be having word post-race, and they may be called to the stewards' room just to talk through exactly how each of them saw the incident. That is Chukwureh closing in behind Zalozhnikov, just taking a little bit longer to get by these slower drivers, Chukwureh, but he's following Eldar Noohi through. I think we might see an overtake attempt here. Chukwureh not quite there. I'm looking at Chukwureh's name and I'm thinking he may well be, in fact, Indian rather than Irish. But it's difficult for me to tell with these pretty small pretty small flags on the circuit. So I'll do my best with nationalities as we run through the number 14. That's Kamto Chukwureh for Mafi Esports, and he's going to have a look down the inside here. Tricky corner to overtake, but he gets the car tucked in. Thank you. That's great. I've got information in my ear. Kamto Chukwureh is Irish, so that I was right first time. I shouldn't doubt myself. But there we have it. It is Dzhantimirov in 6th place. This is Charles Wimbley, the number 3. He's in 5th. And Wimbley chasing them down. This is Devine and Dasilva. Dasilva finally makes his way by Devine, but Devine is not ready to give up on P2 here today. Does he switch back on the way into the corner? I think he's making sure that Dasilva is watching him carefully. We will see. And behind them, Scott Edwards, Charles Wimbley and Dzhantimirov follow in fairly hot pursuit of the provisional podium positions underneath the Firestone Bridge. Looks like a Dunlop bridge, but it's a Firestone Bridge. Racetracks around the world have a tyre manufacturer shaped bridge over the racetrack, and it all depends who's currently sponsoring it. It is Brandon Devine then, number 57, who is in that 3rd place. Osbaldeston's gap 7.3 seconds. At this stage, he'll be starting to think about just managing the gap. Doesn't want to get too far in the lead and take too much out of the tyres. This is a bit of a turnaround for Kyra Krassenburg, who started in the mid-pack in the sprint race. She dropped back down to the back of the grid and obviously started there in the feature. She's got herself back up in the number 1. She managed to pick up the number 1 car as well, the number 1 race number as well. And she's in P8 now, and not too far away from Andy Philpott in front, who is 2.4 seconds in front. Behind Krassenburg, Gergo Danko, quick driver, the Hungarian racer, and behind him is Illia Rakitin. So no shortage of talent in this midfield battle at this stage. There is Wimbley versus Edwards. That is Wimbley from the United States against the Brit, who is Scott Edwards in the green and orange, and the purple, not red, but the purple car of Wimbley here in P5 at the moment. And he is looking smooth at the moment. Can he find his way by? And we'll ride on board with him for a few moments as we sniff out an opportunity. Where is the car in front a little bit vulnerable? And that looks like Scott Edwards just taking his eye off the racing line for a moment, just to make sure that the car behind knows that he's there. And this is a heavy defense going on into the corkscrew. Don't want to move around in the wake of the car in front of you on the braking zone there, but a much better, much more classic racing line from Wimbley. Can he find his way through there? Looks like Scott Edwards parking it in the middle of the road pretty much, and making sure that it is really hard work. And that is understeer city for Charles Wimbley, who runs his tyres way out onto the gravel. Didn't cost him a lot, which is surprising given that he's heading in. And into the pit lane comes Gergo Danko, and suspiciously a car very close to him coming into the pit lane behind. It's Illia Rakitin, so there could be a bit of damage on the cars. We'll see though. Perhaps we have a mandatory pit stop. We do have a mandatory pit stop. So we'll take on fuel in the pit stop, so we will need to manage that one and make sure that everybody makes their pit stops. They take on a required amount of fuel and get through to the second half of the race. We're nearing that halfway period, so the drivers are just getting themselves ready to go. This is Scott Edwards. The car's getting light with fuel now, So they're starting to unlock some additional pace. Scott Edwards has given up a position to Charles Wimbley, and he now is under threat from Dzhantimirov behind him as we head into that famous corkscrew bend. And Edwards, we'll see if anybody else heads into the pit lane here on the end of this lap 14. We're nearing that halfway period, the 20th minute of racing, and the drivers will be thinking about it, possibly considering a box opposite situation. There goes Dzhantimirov. So he'll be looking for the undercut here on the cars in front of him, get some new fuel and possibly some new tyres, and get himself out there on some quicker, clearer air in front of him and try and undercut Scott Edwards and Brandon Devine. We'll try and keep an eye on what's happening with the relative pace of those drivers. 7.9 seconds is Noah Osbaldeston's lead to David Dasilva. And just 2 seconds further back is Brandon Devine. Scott Edwards super wide, but he held on to it, and that was very, very accomplished skill, just hanging on to that massive understeer moment he had. As Andy Philpott, the number 78, starts to close in now, just gets the wheel launched up slightly on the curb on the way in to the corner. Didn't upset the balance too much. Looks like these F4 cars pretty forgiving around here. Certainly more forgiving than the car I've been practicing in, which is pitching me around on 4 out of every 5 laps of this Laguna Seca. So out into the gravel has been scattered across the racing surface. I know that's a new feature of iRacing. Certainly that we've got more dynamic gravel effects affecting us here as we run through. This is now Andy Philpott coming through, and the drivers will be feeling the gravel on their fingertips, and they're just being kicked up in the background. That final corner is always filthy because drivers just manage to scrape the gravel up onto the racing line. This is Gergo Danko in the number 4 entry, and he's all the way back in 14th position at the moment. He'll be hoping for some drama in front of him here. Remember, he was one of the first ones, I believe, to pit, so he's out of position at this stage. And this is the Team RLR Foundation liveried car of Illia Rakitin going side by side with the rival next to him. That's Rakitin versus Bunich, who gets overtaken, I think, in 2-in-1 there, and a great overtake, and a car emerging from the pits behind as well. Lots of things going on at once, but props to Danko for following Rakitin past Bunich that time, and it's Kyra Krassenburg who's come out of the pit lane behind this battle as well. 21, nearly 22 minutes have gone of the 40, so we are well into the point where the drivers really need to make those pit stops, make sure that they work, and you use the new rubber for as much as of the race as you possibly can. That looks like Devine has gone into the pits. Dasilva has retaken that second place from Devine, and Wimbley in 3rd. Scott Edwards in 4th right now, with Andy Philpott in 5th place. These drivers not having pitted yet. Eldar Noohi continues his journey through the field with Kamto Chukwureh right behind him, as they have yet, I believe, to make their pit stops. So we'll see that all file through as Dzhantimirov makes his pit stop now, and the drivers around him manage to gain positions as a result. Obviously, we will wait to see everybody's pit stops finished until we know exactly where everybody stands. Danko stuck right out on the outside here with Rakitin on the inside line. Nice to see hard-fought battles and clean battles for the most part through this feature race as we run through. That was Dzhantimirov who had the lead at the very start of the race, finishing 10th in the sprint, gave him pole position. There is the number 9 entry of Edwards being chased down by Andy Philpott at the moment. 2 Brits going wheel to wheel. No friendship on the racetrack, of course, unless they're in the same team. But wow, heading on into the pit lane, that was very, very close for those two. And now we'll see drivers jumping forward. Eldar Noohi all the way up to P3 P3, P2 even, with Dasilva in the pits and Osbaldeston. Eldar Noohi just grabbing every bit of track position he possibly can at this stage of proceedings, but we'll wait to see if he then ends up moving back forward again soon enough. That is the Racing Bulls livery of Gergo Danko, the P4 Hungarian, and he is locked into the slipstream of Illia Rakitin, who will know all about what's going on behind him. He'll try to defend. Lots of cars coming out of the pit lane right now as well, into the path of these two battlers. And we'll see if Rakitin can hang on. Look at this busy racetrack as the field condenses once again. 6 cars within the space of about 4 or 5 tenths of a second. And this is the middle period of a 40-minute race. Amazing to see a single spec race end up with drivers so close together at this stage of proceedings. And you can see at the moment, Richard Lucas is some near 3 kilometers in total behind the race leader, with Zalozhnikov some 52 seconds behind the race leader overall. That is Eldar Noohi, who was at the back of the grid after an unexpected pit stop to fix damage. Couldn't take his mandatory pit stop at that point. Maybe he could. Maybe he took tyres really early, and I don't think we've got a required pit window for the drivers. So 1 pit stop might be all it takes for Eldar Noohi. Out of the pits comes Noah Osbaldeston, and he is 3 seconds away, but on much fresher rubber than Eldar Noohi. And he gets to play the hunter rather than the hunted, as it was in the sprint race. So that is going to be fascinating as Osbaldeston has to try and catch and pass Noohi. So we'll see what happens there. At the moment, though, Osbaldeston has Kamto Chukwureh just 6 tenths of a second behind him as they run through. Then it is Rakitin here on center screen on the 375, and he runs wide. Gergo Danko behind him, starting to think that he can get by. So many cars in quick succession right now as we run through the left-hander of turn 6 up the Rayhouse Straight. So yes, okay, so I've got some information and I'll just try and read that for you momentarily. Yeah, this is a great battle currently as they run through. Look at Gergo Danko sneaking one down the inside as Rakitin exposes his inside as they run through. Gergo Danko might be able to dive down in towards Rainy Curve turn 9. He can't quite make it work in the end. Okay, so the information I've got is that they start on 60% fuel, which means that they cannot likely make the end of the race. Either they have to lift and coast throughout the whole race, or they can take that early pit stop. And I'm sure that Eldar Noohi went to plan B and fueled up to the finish at that early stage. It might even have been plan A to pit that early out of position there and get that clean air run. In fact, if anything, Noah Osbaldeston is not closing in the gap to Eldar Noohi at this stage. 3.5 seconds, and he has close attention from Kamto Chukwureh behind him in that P3. We continue, though, to watch Illia Rakitin. This is back over to Philpott then in the 78. He is running currently in 8th position, right behind Scott Edwards with the lime green number 9 there, and running up the hill. As we see, that's Gergo Danko behind them, waiting in the wings for a potential opportunity. The drivers just having to hesitate on the throttle through the corkscrew, wait for the car to settle down, as that looks like a speculative one from Philpott. Scott Edwards, though, holding firm on the inside line of each corner as we approach them and hanging on. That's a big wide moment from the car behind, who's diving into the pit lane. Then he's decided he can't make the end of the race. 12 minutes to go at this stage of proceedings. And look at these 3 locked in battle as they cross the start-finish line to start their 21st racing lap here at Laguna Seca. And Scott Edwards defending hard to the inside. Will we go all the way round the outside? It's a long, long way to go. And we leave the inside open then. We might tangle wheels with Gergo Danko, Andy Philpott. might try and find that half a car's width on the inside. Gergo Danko goes outside to inside. I think he might be going for it. They've made contact on the way through. Car's just snapping around. I think Scott Edwards might actually manage to hang on to this one, continuing 3 wide. Incredible stuff from these racers. As Philpott has the inside line through the next corner, you could argue, though, that Gergo Danko has the better run, and they're all over the shop, and it is disaster. The car's rolling and flipping, and thank goodness we are racing in sim racing here, because that would have been extreme danger for the drivers, and that is how things can go very wrong. We had some great running for a few moments there. Drivers clicking back into the pit lane for repairs or retirement. Andy Philpott was one of them. Scott Edwards and Gergo Danko tangling in an incredible way as they ran up the hill through turns 5 and 6. And what a shame to see the race close up like that. We have a full course yellow, I believe, and that is a safety car being called. Safety car, race control, the pace car out, the lights are on. Wow, what a incredible battle there. And the person who's going to be most grateful for this, I think, is Noah Osbaldeston, who will close in now. Possibly some of the drivers further back. Things as they stand, the Porsche safety car is keeping the drivers honest here and slow. But it's good to see our drivers are A-OK, back into the pit lane. They might be able to repair, but I would imagine most of those drivers will have to retire the cars. We did see 2 cars flipping and barrel rolling across the gravel. I think 1 car stayed upright, but we'll hope to see that that sequence once again, because man alive, that was absolute drama here in our first feature race of the season. There it is. That's how things ended. And look at the 3 wide situation. Gergo Danko might have had a better run here going through. Philpott on the inside, Edwards on the outside, and it's Danko who gets, you can see the car just crabbing slightly sideways. There's another driver on a curb, but it looked like Philpott held on. And as the curve just comes through, that is contact from Philpott, pitching, almost pit maneuvering Danko, and then he and Edwards go flying. Check this one out as they go end over end, rear wing bodywork being damaged, and what absolute drama. And I really hope those drivers weren't in VR, because that would have been a deeply uncomfortable position to be in. This is how things ended pretty much, as the good defense. This is the build-up to them going 3 wide. Philpott in the red and black. Edwards in the lime green had been holding on for so long. Misjudged that one. Danko ran from the outside to the inside. And perhaps you could argue that was a fairly aggressive defensive move from Philpott. Danko would have had to have hesitated on the throttle there. He lifted off the brake on the inside line here. I don't believe there was contact through this corner. We'll just see them close in. That is so unbelievably close. The tyres overlapping there. There is a touch there between the drivers, but I think by the time we got here, everybody was ready to go. Again, Danko on the outside, and I think they're just hitting the red curb was Philpott, and he's keeping his foot planted, as you would expect to, through this corner. And unfortunately, a racing incident. But here we are on board with Edwards, and that was an uncomfortable moment, as you see cars flying and barrel rolling across the gravel. Look at this with the gyro cam. That would have been even more uncomfortable if the camera had stayed stable. But the drivers, big time. So we're on a safety car then, with 8 minutes to go, less than 8 minutes left to go, as we see Eldar Noohi leading the race. And he's going to be feeling a little bit uncomfortable, I think, with a tiny gap behind him to both Chukwureh and Devine. Now, where has... this is interesting, because Osbaldeston's gone down to 9th. And I hope Osbaldeston hasn't had an accident in the safety car. Has he gone back for another set of tyres, possibly? Has he decided that a cheap pit stop is in the offing, and he can take a new set of tyres? But that is a big gamble if that's what he's done. We'll try and get you that information if possible. But But yeah, really fascinating to see exactly what's happened to Osbaldeston, because as things stand, this is how things finished on the road in the sprint race at the top two. Noohi, Chukwureh, but a different P3 at this point. It's Dasilva, Dzhantimirov and Kyra Krassenburg in P6 now. Illia Rakitin in 7th. Zalozhnikov in 8th. We're going to go round at least one more lap here under the safety car conditions. We still have 16 drivers registered. I think Andy Philpott is still in the pit lane by the look of things, and the drivers are just trying to keep their tyres clean and warm for the restart. Noah Osbaldeston, though, in 9th place with very few racing laps left to go. He's got pace, but he may have a new set of tyres unless he just did a simple spin on the dirt as he's weaving the car around to generate heat. The drivers have gone double file now. The lights are off on the safety car. We will finish this full course yellow period, and it almost looks like a Michelin colour scheme there for Eldar Noohi. Chukwureh is officially in the lead of the race right now. I'm sure that will sort itself out. I don't think Chukwureh deserves to be in P1, but they've been told to go double file here as we get ready for the restart. This is going to be drama because there's only 5 minutes of racing left to go for our racers. Where, though, is Noah Osbaldeston? When he's trucked down into 10th, I think he will restart in 9th. That is a little wiggle going on from the number 10. That's just to generate tyre temperature. It's a moot point. We don't know for sure whether it works, but the drivers do it anyway, just in case. To be generating brake temperature, which has a bigger effect on the tyre surface temperature and operating temperature. If you can generate brake temperature on the inside, that heat will radiate out to the outside edge of the tyre. This is back then to Eldar Noohi leading the standings at this stage on the restart. The Porsche safety car will be heading in towards the pit lane. The green flag will be given to Eldar Noohi shortly, and he will decide when it is time to go racing once again. There are just 4.5 minutes left on the clock. That will be, I think, 4 racing laps, possibly 3 racing laps by the time they actually make it round to start this final lap, this final period of the race, as Noohi on the inside line coming through the final corner. I think he'll stamp on the throttle pretty soon. There he goes. I can see suddenly the car jumps forward. He moves across to the inside. We go green flag racing once again, and it's Chukwureh who off the racing line was caught on the outside, and it's David Dasilva who's challenging Chukwureh down into the first of the big stops here at the raceway. Similar racing colours. Oh, there's another accident. It's safety cars, possibly breeding safety cars. Illia Rakitin staying on the racing surface, but we've had a problem there for a driver who's lost his rear wing. Eldar Noohi, though, we're still green flag. We've gone back to yellow flag. I don't know if we'll be getting another safety car or not, but there we go. More drama on the restart, and a caution at least, a waved yellow flag. Eldar Noohi leads ahead of Kamto Chukwureh, Dasilva in 3rd. Where is Noah Osbaldeston? He's in 8th position, and they're still racing hard. There is just a static yellow flag at the first big turn on turn 2 in the left-hander, and there is the lack of rear wing. There's a puncture on the car. I think it's time to head into the pit lane if we can. This is how things got together. It's not the only accident that we saw, as this was Zalozhnikov losing out big time, battling side by side. This is one of the problems with restarts, especially double file restarts that we have, as we've got yellow flags going on. That was Zalozhnikov losing out. I think that might have been Wimbley in the purple who got into him, possibly. We'll just confirm that for you, and we'll see what happened on turn 2 as well, if possible, before the end of the race. 2.5 racing minutes left to go. Eldar Noohi leads by 1.3 seconds. That's the Zalozhnikov, the 696, down into 10th position, and frankly, lucky to still be there, given the contact and that he had to wait for other drivers to come through. So fascinating to see as they run through. This then is perhaps what went down into the first braking action on the restart. I think that might be Philpott on the inside. He goes, oh dear, almost goes bowling. And then the innocent party on the outside there, who gets hit into, was not involved in the action at all. Might have been Philpott, but I don't mean to blame somebody inadvertently, but someone got very, very late on the brakes on the way in. Who is this one? This is Rakitin. We'll see what happens from his perspective. It's not Rakitin's fault, this at all. That looks like it could be Philpott on the left-hand side. Certainly the 333 is involved as well. I think maybe the 333 went up in the air and lost his rear wing, but Rakitin ended up just being taken out from, as I say, no fault of his own, as we keep trying to find exactly who was at fault there, or at least get an angle of it. This was, well, tell me it wasn't Noah Osbaldeston there, potentially. We'll wait to see then as we try to run through and find out for you exactly what happened. This is Zalozhnikov at the moment, the 696 there is, it was Noah Osbaldeston, and he hits the curb, and you've got to stay away from these big curbs. It was Osbaldeston, not Philpott, who was too late on the brakes. And then again, just about every accident we've seen so far is a driver hitting one of those red curbs on the inside, and unfortunately you are a passenger at that point. And then you can see that's Rakitin being pitched almost completely over the 375, and they won't be happy. They won't be happy about that restart, because that's race over for the 333 as well. At this stage, there's no time to catch back. I'm not sure. We are under safety car conditions. I don't know if, well, it looks like we're going to finish under safety car potentially, because the drivers crossed the line with just 10 seconds left on the clock. Noah Osbaldeston is going to try and finish this with no rear wing. Forget fixing the damage. Just stay on the race and pick up points where possible. Although I have to say, it's quite likely he'll end up with a penalty here come the end of proceedings for that accidental contact. I'm sorry to say, but the clock is dead. We're at 40. We're overtime at this stage. So Eldar Noohi leads us. Chukwureh, who came into contact with other drivers right at the start of the race, or at least decided, we're not entirely sure whether they suffered damage, but took a very early pit stop from the midfield. Didn't want to get caught up in other people's pace. And Noohi and Chukwureh could well finish 1 and 2. And from my view anyway at this stage, Noohi's had a cleaner race this time round. So I think this one very likely to stand of getting a first and second in both races here. Each of Eldar Noohi and Kamto Chukwureh, I would imagine, with David Dasilva bringing his car through. There is the Dutch driver Kyra Krassenburg racing with us here and transferring over from GT7. Not much she can't do, I have to say. Having raced with her and against her, she's good in just about every type of car. You can see the number 24, that is Osbaldeston. I don't quite know how Osbaldeston is still reading as P8 at the moment. I thought he was right at the back, but he's managed to just rejoin the pack here, as the other cars behind him will finish behind, but made contact with him. It's Eldar Noohi. Let's see if we can't see. I think we're getting close to the end of the lap here for the drivers. Zalozhnikov and Dzhantimirov. What a shame for our Ukrainian drivers here, who are not finishing highly at all. Here we go then to cross the line. I think the Porsche will have to lead them across, because the damage and the repairs were still being done. Eldar Noohi, I think, is going to take the checkered flag here under the safety car conditions. A win though on the road in both races for us, but Eldar Noohi wins the feature with Chukwureh second, Dasilva third, Devine in fourth, with Kyra Krassenburg in fifth place, Charles Wimbley in sixth, Bunich in seventh, Osbaldeston showing as eighth, but we'll put an asterisk next to his name for this feature race anyway. Rakitin in ninth, Zalozhnikov in 10th, Dzhantimirov in 11th. We have Danko in 12th, Lucas in 13th, Edwards in 14th, Sorovskivsky in 15th, and Philpott at the back of the grid. And there is a driver just going off on the cool-down lap. They still haven't cooled themselves down particularly, but not too worried about finishing at this point. They're just driving around to the garage and taking a drink, I think, right now. A really, really intriguing start to our championship. I hope you've enjoyed it, and we will be back in 2 weeks' time for the next round of the Ukrainian Racing League F4 Championship here in 2025. My name is Weboo. I've been very happy to be with you. You can find me at Weboo Red 5 And I hope you're subscribing to the channel right now as well, and making sure that you leave a timestamp comment after watching the race for your favourite moments. That is always helps us when we go to make highlights of our race feature as well. Big thank you to producer Vasil, who's been keeping me informed, keeping me making sure I'm able to see all the action, and a big congratulations to Eldar Noohi and to Kamto Chukwureh for a very successful day's racing here at Laguna Seca. Welcome to the comms booth, Kamto Chukwureh. That was a fabulous day's racing for you. How did you see it? And congratulations for your double podium there.
Yeah, thank you. The first race wasn't that great. I had a bit of not an incident, but like I got held up and then I almost lost third place on the line to the first corner on like lap 2 or 3. But they crashed into turn 1, so I got second place. Got overtaken again afterwards because I just didn't have the pace of whoever was P1. I don't know his name, but the second race was better. I got lucky with whatever Noah I think it was pitting under the safety car. I was going to do the same thing, but then I realized like because the pit lane was closed the lap I wanted to do it, everyone behind me caught up. So I felt like if I just stayed out, all I have to do is defend. So on the first restart, I did have to defend because I almost got overtaken by 2 cars into turn 1, and then I got saved by that second safety car, which just helped me keep P2 to the line.
Fantastic, yeah. And what was your read of the sprint race? Because you saw what went down in front of you, and it could be that you end up gaining a position and possibly getting the win from the sprint there at the end. It's fascinating to hear from you about that situation.
Yeah, I hope he, for my sake, he gets a penalty so I get first place. But like, obviously, I don't wish penalties on other people. But like, if it benefits me, then like, I'm all for it.
Why
But
not? Yeah.
yeah, but yeah. So my goal was wanting to work with him to just catch up to Noah up until the last lap and then try fight. But he was too quick for me, so I was only able to stay in the system. I couldn't actually overtake him. So when he overtook and took out Noah, it helped me a bit because obviously I was able to get second place, and I think maybe he had damage, so I was able to stick within like a second. So if he gets like a 5-second penalty, that will help the messy qualifying I had.
Absolutely, yes. So, talk to me about that strategic option then. You started in the mid pack, obviously, with the reverse grid for the feature race. Was it plan A to pit, or was there damage or contact that forced your hand there on the first few laps when you made that really early pit stop?
No, usually when it's reverse grid, if I'm standing in the middle or at the back, I will always try to pit on the first lap because
Interesting.
of how much it's bunched up at the front.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
you pit and undercut everyone, you're gonna come out ahead of all of them. So when I did that, I had I think 14 seconds to P4, Whereas if I stood with them all, I would have not been able to overtake them because it's very hard to actually overtake, and then I would have lost out to the person who won the race because he also pit a lap one as well. So usually, if it's a reverse grid, I'm going to pit lap one just to avoid any chaos.
Very clever, very clever. Love it. Well, congratulations, Kamto. Great to see you out there, and it must feel great to see the amount of practice I'm sure you've put in paying off. So congratulations, double podium at very least. I'm sure that represents a really good return for you. Great start to the championship.
Absolutely, thank you, and thank you to my team out for Esports as well.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Absolutely. Well, we'll try and get you another driver. I know we've got some drivers waiting in the wings to talk to us. Hopefully, we're going to get our race winner momentarily. Here he is, Eldar Noohi. Congratulations, Eldar, on that feature race win. That looked like a stroke of genius in terms of the early pit stop and hanging on and making your way back through the grid through the course of the feature race. Apologies, folks. I can't hear anything that Eldar might be saying. He may be on mute. We'll just try and get some voice coming through. Sometimes drivers haven't got their mics configured. They've got team comms or something. So we'll try and get some audio from Eldar. And we'll give him a chance. If we don't get to talk to him now, we'll give him a chance to organise that and find the right buttons or the right microphone, get everything working. I'm sure he's not shy, and he would like to talk to us because he's here, and he's dropped out, and he might be coming back in. So we will try and talk then instead to David Dasilva. David, a third place in the feature race. How would you sum up your feelings right now?
Honestly, pretty good.
Excellent.
You know, obviously it's not the top step of the podium, but it is a step on the podium and a step in the right direction for me. I haven't really driven these F4 cars in quite some time, so it's a pretty great P4 in the sprint, and then P3. I got some good points today.
Absolutely, absolutely. Always good to be scoring points, especially at the start of a championship. How do you rate your chances? Then have any reflections on the course of this this first round? How do you rate your chances of getting yourself a podium overall at the end of the season?
I reckon I could definitely shoot for the second or third step at the end of the season. There's some really fast guys out here already, so I know it's definitely going to be a tough battle no matter what. But anything's possible, and that's why we have a couple rounds to settle it. So.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, I mean, what was going on in the race for you? Any drama? I did see you having a good battle with Devine there. How did you see that one from your seat?
Yeah, I mean, overall, it was kind of difficult because some of the faster guys like Noah and Eldar were driving off, and especially in the sprint race, I was able to keep up with them for a little while, but there was a little mistake here or there from myself that really made it tough to keep up with them. But it was definitely nice to have that little battle with Brandon. He and I are friends of a couple of years now, so we always have kind of great battles like that.
Absolutely. Well, that sounds really cool. A lot of practice went into this one. I know you said you haven't turned a wheel in anger for some time in the F4s, but did you commit a lot of time, or do you feel like you've got more incentive now to really push for this championship?
Yeah, definitely for this round. I signed up for the season last night, so I didn't really have a whole lot of time to practice, but definitely going forward, I'm going to put a lot more effort with the team, and we're going to do a lot more practices.
That's awesome. Well, congratulations. If there's anyone you need to thank, then please do. But a really successful fourth and third today. Well done, David Dasilva.
Thank you.
Okay, folks. Well, we'll see if we have anybody else. I think we're going to give one more shot to try and talk to Eldar Noohi. Eldar, come in. Do we have you?
Yes, I think now.
Fantastic, fantastic. Well, congratulations on that feature race win. That was hard fought. I'm sure you had to do a lot of passing in the early stages of the race after that early pit stop. But ultimately, it was that early pit stop that kind of bought you that speed in the end, and you were able to overcome Noah Osbaldeston before the safety car came out.
Yeah, I mean the pace was good. I thought I could save some fuel as well, so I just pitted extremely early because and my fuel calculator was saying that I do need to save a tiny bit of fuel, and I was saving fuel behind who was pitting with me as well. Yeah, because we both had very good pace, and we was like P1 and P2 and at the end as well. So yeah, I don't know what happened to Noah in the end. Why he pitted? Maybe he didn't take enough fuel, but very unfortunate with that because I think he had a very good pace as well, and
Mm-hmm.
it would have been a fun few last laps. It was a little bit of a shame that it ended under safety car, but it is what it is.
It's motor racing, isn't it? But I can't not talk to you about the conclusion of the sprint race. How did you see it from your seat? It looked like you made a late move to go down the inside and make contact with the curb first, which kind of pitched you sideways. I mean, what was your view on that contact at the end of the sprint?
Yeah, I mean, I have to look again at it, but I think it was a little bit of a late move. That's true, and it was a move out of desperation. I'm not gonna lie. The time was running out.
Yep.
The clock was ticking, and I made a lot of mistakes in the start of the sprint. I was very frustrated with myself in the beginning with a bad start in both
Mhm.
of the races actually. But yeah, it was just a little bit of a desperation move.
Understood. Well, I mean, you came back through adversity, certainly through that feature race. How are you feeling overall? I mean, I would imagine you've certainly managed to get a double podium, if not a double win, once everything shakes out. So you must be feeling pretty good.
Yeah, I feel good now for the next one. Uh, Focusing on the next one now.
Straight away, of course, typical racing driver. Don't savor the moment. Go straight into planning for the next race. Well, that's fantastic to hear. Anyway, it looks like it's going to be a fabulous championship in front of us. Congratulations to
Thank you.
Eldar Noohi. Fantastic to hear from you and to watch you driving as well. Great
Thank you.
great racing. Well, thanks everybody. It's been fantastic to be here, to be with you, and of course to have a good chat with our racing drivers as well. Thanks to Vasil, thanks to the Ukrainian Racing League, and we will catch you in 2 weeks' time.